I am going to forge the weirdest hammer you have ever seen. This hammer is one of the smallest and most unique pieces I have ever made. You may be wondering, what the heck is a chasing hammer even used for? Well, it's basically used for making masterpieces like this. And this. And this. With that being said, let's forge a chasing hammer. The first step in any complicated project is to sit down and sketch it out. You don't want to get halfway through a project and realize you don't have the correct tools or materials or even knowledge to finish something like this. I sketch out just about every project I do beforehand to make sure that I get everything just right through the crafting process.
Alright, so I was digging through my massive pile of junk over there behind me, and I came across a high carbon steel railroad spike that may work for the body of this hammer. I'm going to attempt to forge weld a higher carbon steel face to this hammer. I was looking at the general shape of it, and it looks similar to what I was trying to sketch out on that piece of paper beforehand. So what I am going to do is I'm going to cut the head part of this spike off. I'm going to try to forge it to the general shape that we need. You see, the body needs to be a lot skinnier, but the face needs to be about that wide, while the nub of the hammer, or the peen part of the hammer, whatever you like to call it, needs to be really thin and skinny for light taps and engraving work. So in order to do that, we have to forge this down quite a bit, and also keep our sketch nearby so that way we don't go off of the measurements and dimensions in any way. And if I do, he said he would like them a little bit smaller than larger. All right, let's go. Normally blacksmiths use chalk for this, but I don't have any chalk on me. But I am going to mark on my anvil exactly how long I need the project to be. What the marks will do is ensure that I will not be undersized when forging. I'd rather have too much material and have to grind the rest away than have too little material and have to start over completely. So as long as I'm a little bit longer than these two marks, I will be happy.
After I forged it to the approximate dimensions I want for now, I'm going to go ahead and smooth everything out with the hammer, just make sure everything's straight and flat. Then I'm going to take it over to the grinder and grind it really hot. The reason why I'm grinding it hot, well, I don't have time to just turn my propane forge off and let it cool down. Second of all, 2x72 grinders are actually built for grinding steel really hot. The advantage of that is that you remove a lot more material because the steel is soft while it's hot. So I save on grinding belts also. At first I had an amazing idea of putting it in the vise and start forging the face out from one piece, but then I realized carbon steel railroad spikes aren't very hard even though they have carbon steel in it. Because a chasing hammer is going to be rapidly hitting a carbide engraving chisel, that will deform the face over time, so I don't want that.
I did not like how this turned out. Let's fix that. I don't like how this hammer face turned out. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut it off completely, and I'm just going to grind it flat. I'm going to forge weld another piece of high carbon steel on the end of it here, and that should do very well. You see, this is a chasing hammer. This is just for holding a tool in your hand. You're going tap, 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 tap. Another thing I need to do is I'm going to turn this into a drift. This is just, I don't know what kind of metal this is, but I'm gonna, as long as it can shape the hole on this. Another thing is this has to be a little bitty hole. It cannot be, it can't be so huge that it takes up a lot of space. It has a little bitty hole and a small handle. So let's go ahead and cut this off and go from there. Let's go ahead and cut this ugly mess off. A bit more.
After I got done chopping off what was going to be the face of the hammer, I was going to drift the hole. I needed a drift, so I had to finish forging the piece of metal into a drift shape. Don't ask me what that shape is, but it basically looks like a spike that I will eventually grind into an O. After I was done with that, I was ensuring the measurements are all correct by looking at my sketch and looking at the measurements the customer sent over and then marking them on the anvil. As I'm drifting the hole, I want to hit it twice, and then I will flip it 90 degrees. What that will do is ensure that the natural mistakes I am making are corrected. When you're drifting holes on especially thick pieces of metal, you want to start out really slow and make sure everything is lined up as perfectly as possible. After you got the hole about halfway through your piece of metal, you want to flip it around and start punching from the other side. And eventually, you'll get something called a plug, which is a perfectly round little thin piece of metal that will fall out. And by the end of the day, you will have a hole in metal.
Tiny little plug, look at that. Yeah, that's nice.
Because the steel I am using for this drift is probably mild steel, or at least a really low carbon steel, what I'm gonna do is I need to let it sit in the forge so the way it will distribute that carbon throughout the piece of steel. And then I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna water quench it. A lot of you nerds out there might be saying, oh my God, water quench, it's gonna break.
Okay.
All right, so I covered this drift in some quenching oil. The reason why I did this, I have a really awesome book given to a friend of mine. But basically what that book says, in order to temper a punch correctly, coat it in oil and hold it in the dragon's breath of the flame of the forge. And as soon as you see the oil start to smoke, that's whenever you have the steel at about the right temperature. There we go. I'm gonna pull it back.
If you're new to blacksmithing, the reason why I had to make another punch, even though the hole was already punched, was with hammers and axes, that hole needs to be an hourglass shape. So the way once you put it on the end of your stick, you can put the wedge at the end of the stick and it locks your hammerhead or axe head in place. And if you do it correctly, that hammerhead will not come off unless the handle rots off in the next 60 or so years, as long as you're taking care of it regularly. Next thing I'm going to do is line up the piece of metal with the marks on my anvil and mark the pieces of steel I need to cut off. And then I will be doing mostly grinding from this point on.
So I got this diagram drawing sketched out exactly to the dimensions that he requested. An issue I am having here is with forging, most of the time, you can't get the dimensions 100% identical. You see, this hole right here that I punched is almost as big as this body of the hammer. See, like that, it's almost as wide. You still have a little bit of material on both ends. But basically what I need to do is I need to squeeze this shut just a little bit, so that way I have enough material on the sides here and here. And then I need to also make sure this hole doesn't go longer than the body either. Also, these marks right here and here is the total length it needs to be. Basically, I'm trying to get this hole straightened out and formed before I cut the ends off and weld the face on, and then draw this little, that part out. So, yes, let's throw this back and forth and squeeze this down just a little bit. Yep. God, I got a hot piece of steel, I gotta be careful. according to the calipers. And then that goes right there, so it's just about perfect. I apologize for the wind, it's screwing around with me today. For a drift made out of random scrap steel, this thing worked really, really well. A few taps there. So now I need to cut it to approximately the length I need. It's gonna be a little bit longer because I still need to forge weld this piece of steel needs to forge weld on the end of this piece of steel. And in the process of doing that, I'm thinking it's gonna squish down just a little bit. This is made from a railroad spike, which I don't know the carbon content of that specific railroad spike. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a thing of 1080. I'm gonna drill a little hole, right? A little pinhole that goes on the end of that right there. Come on, camera, focus. A little pinhole that right in the dead center of that. Then I'm not gonna quite go all the way through, but I am gonna drill a hole right here. And then I'm gonna put a pin here and here so the way you can connect it and it won't slide around, because I gotta forge weld this piece of steel to the end of this so the way you have the face of the hammer. So the next thing I gotta do is I gotta just cut this so the way I can drill a hole here and drill a hole there. Alright, so it's a few days later, and I brought this down to the welder shop here in my local area. He welded the piece of carbon steel to the railroad spike, and what I'm going to do now is it's not forge welded. It's not permanently on there. If I tap it a few times on this anvil, it could break off. I mean, it's not, but it could. That's just the thing with welding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to normalize this a couple times, then I'm going to forge weld this piece permanently to this piece so the way we can have a solid piece of steel.